and all the money that he's gotten over the years. He deserves most of it, if not all of it. Nobody's trying to rain on a parade that is Eli Manning. We know what a good dude he is. We get it. We really, really do. But I got to tell you, to see the concessions thrown in his direction by John Mara reminds me of the privileged few that still lives in our society. Everybody ain't getting that kind of treatment. There's a whole bunch of people that would be consummate professionals that would act right and what have you. Tom Brady ain't even getting that kind of treatment from Bill Belichick. Went to 3 straight Super Bowls. Won 2 of the last 3 Super Bowls. Bill Belichick wouldn't even give him a multi-year deal. Yeah, you can go ahead and be a free agent at the end of the season if you want to. It's okay. We'll be all right. Prior to that, before he became porn star Jimmy Garoppolo was a backup in New England, starving for his opportunity. Bill Belichick wanted to get rid of Tom Brady just to put Jimmy Garoppolo up in there. You can't make this stuff up. Tom Brady, consummate professional, personification of a company man, saying all the right things, doing all the right things the right way in their eyes, being incredibly appreciative and supportive of the ownership with Mr. Kraft and his son, Jonathan. And still, he's at the mercy of Bill Belichick. Yeah, we'll give you a 1-year deal, basically. But Eli Manning, he just keeps trucking along, able to survive, rather, for an elongated period of time. I got to tell you something. It's a problem. Somebody needs to say something. Somebody needs to be honest about it. We just need to do that. It's just that simple.
He has created the level of autonomy, becoming a mogul to be able to now push this and take it a step forward and carry the baton.
The NFL trying to mend fences. The NFL did a lot of damage to its relationship with its African-American fans with everything that happened with Colin Kaepernick.
It's just an opportunity to bridge a gap, to bring all and create a level of credibility.
Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests on the Stephen A. Smith Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line.
Say ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Let's get right to it. Let's go to Jim. You're live with Stephen A. Go ahead.
Hey, Stephen A. Hey, on Kaepernick, in my opinion, his talent doesn't equal his his distraction doesn't equal his talent. That's why he's not in the league. The Broncos offered him money. He wanted starter money.
Stop right there. Let me ask you this question. Did his talent meet the distraction 3 years ago?
What was that?
Did his talent meet the potential distraction 3 years ago?
No, I don't think so. I think he was beaten out by Blaine Gabbert twice.
That's what I needed. That's what I needed to know from you. I needed to make sure that you wasn't equating it to him being away from the game for the last 2+ seasons. I needed to make sure that you were alluding to it back then, because then that would be fair. If you were alluding to it now, well, of course he's been away from the game now, so that's a legitimate question mark. But it's also unfair because he's been kept away from the game. But if you felt that way back then your point is significantly more valid. You understand where I'm coming from?
Yeah, no, maybe I misunderstood what you say. What I mean is when he last played, he was one of the, he had 2 bad years and he was beaten out by Blaine Gabbert. And since then, he's been looking for like starter money and all that stuff. Even the Broncos offered him a contract, but he was looking for starter money. So I just think his talent doesn't equal the distraction. And I think that's why he's in the league, in my opinion.
I appreciate the call, man. Thank you so much. Let's go to Mike. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Mike? How are you?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing?
I'm all right. Thank you for calling. Go ahead. Mike, do me a favor. Hang up and call back, and I'll put you back on. Your signal is garbled, and we can't hear you. So call back when you have a clearer line. Ray, you're live with Stephen A. What's up, Ray?
Stephen A., how are you?
All right, go ahead.
A couple of points. I think the point, first of all, I agree with lots of what you're saying. I think you're authentic. I really respect what you have to say. You're a practical guy who brings forward facts. But one of the things that you tread lightly with that I think you shouldn't is one of the things that Reed said when you said that Jay-Z, and I am far from calling him a sellout. I don't know nothing about his life. I don't know what kind of effort and resources he put in to his community to make things better. So that aside, the one thing I think I have a right to question, though, is his intent without calling him a sellout. And when Reed said it's about his brand, it's about him making money, and you saying, oh, he doesn't care about making money, I don't believe that for one second.
I didn't say that. I said he's a businessman. That's what he says. I said he's a capitalist. As former justice writer for the New York Daily News, still out there doing a great job in his own right, and Sean King pointed out that he was a capitalist. I certainly did not imply that he does not care about money. What I said is that's not what he's all about. You know, he definitely will speak his mind, and he will speak up and tackle issues. And how about giving a man a chance to see what he does and then judging it accordingly? And the other thing that I denigrated about Eric Reed's statement is Eric Reed said he's putting a, quote, black face on the NFL blackballing Colin Kaepernick. Come on now, that's a bit excessive. It really is.
I think it's excessive, but no one, black, white, green, blue, should be able to profit off the unfair sentence that a 19-year-old black man receives in this country today. So those
whoa, you lost me. What do you mean a 19-year-old black man? What are you talking about?
Well, part of what this fight is about, which I'm on, I'd like to think that I'm on the right side of the fence regarding social justice.
Oh, no. I thought you was. I was just making sure you wasn't calling Colin Kaepernick 19 years old. I'm sorry, sir.
No.
Okay, that's what I was saying.
No. Jay-Z, nor should any mogul, white, black, green, purple, should they be able to profit in this country if they are that sincere about creating change, the kind of change that Martin Luther King.
All right, stop right there, Ray, because I hear you, and when I say soapbox, I'm not denigrating or disrespecting you in any way. I'm just saying I hear where you're coming from, but I would say this to you. If I remember correctly, I don't know. I think I read something with a former Vice President Al Gore or a former presidential candidate, former Secretary of State for the United States, Hillary Clinton. I forgot whoever it was. Somebody wrote a story, if I remember correctly, about them, you know, in terms of being in business in the private sector as it pertained to prisons. Now, I don't know what business that was or whatever, but there are, the incarceration has been privatized. You do know that. You are aware of that. And you are aware of people that are politicians, that are very influential figures, significant people in this world that have, and again, forgive me if I'm wrong, I don't know for sure whether it was Al Gore or Hillary Clinton, but I think I remember that somewhere. But you can double check that. All I'm trying to say is that because the prison system has been privatized to some degree, we have entrepreneurs, we have affluent individuals, I dare say we have elected politicians that have played a role, directly or indirectly, in terms of monetizing our prison system. So the very thing that you're saying, we've had people long before Jay-Z or anybody else ever came along that does that. And last time I checked, Colin Kaepernick, Eric Reed, they're not in the prison system. And the issues that they brought to our attention, Jay-Z working in concert with the National Football League, how about we pay attention to actionable things that have actually transpired as opposed to questioning their intent? How about that? We look at politicians every day. Wouldn't you agree with this, Ray? Politicians every day give us cause to pause because of their own individual agendas. They do things to garner votes, to garner support, et cetera, et cetera. But ultimately, what we judge them on is how effective the policies that they promoted and assisted in implementing actually are. So ultimately, we've got to judge the effect of people's actions as opposed to the motivation or agenda behind it. Wouldn't you say that?
I would that assumes that two wrongs almost make a right, and it also assumes that we should be outcome determinative. That's where you and I are going to strongly disagree. We need to stand up. We need to fight that. I'm in disagreement with privatizing prisons. Read about the
fight
stories.
what, Ray?
Read about the stories.
Fight what? Fight. No, hold on, Ray. Hold on. Stay with me, because I don't want to confuse my listeners because it's a sports show. But listen to what I'm saying to you. Ultimately, you're telling me, based on what you're saying, if somebody does something that positively affects the masses, it should be ignored because of what the intent was, and that may not have been it. I don't agree with that. That's what I'm saying. Do you understand that, Ray?
I do understand that, and when you state it that way, Stephen, you make an absolutely strong case for why we should look the other way and just look at the result. However, let me just put this forth. If we do so much of that looking the other way, eventually the foundation collapses.
But I'm not saying, but I agree with that, Ray, but I'm not saying look the other way. I'm saying ultimately focus more attention on the effects of what's actually done. There have been plenty of things in our society that we look at, and we may question someone or an individual group or an entity. We may question their agenda, but at the end of the day, we have to remember to pay more attention to the positive impacts it has on the innumerable number of lives, as opposed to an individual's agenda or objective. I'm not saying turn the other cheek. I'm not saying don't pay attention to it. I'm not saying don't be a watchdog and keep an eye out for it. But ultimately, the agenda is about helping as many people as we possibly can, as opposed to one's individual agenda behind it. That's what I'm saying takes priority. I'm not saying to ignore anything, but you have to prioritize. And the priority has to be what affects the many. Sorry to steal a line from Spock in Star Trek, but the lives of the many outweigh the lives of the few. And I think that is a good way to focus on things. That's all I'm saying, Ray.
I would agree with you, and certainly if I were to disagree that the outcome is the most important thing, it would be irrational. But I would say go a bit easier on Reed. I know he's. I'm just talking about Reed's. Ray, I'm not talking about Reed's. I'm not talking about Reed's position. I'm talking about Reed's flagrant disrespect without even seeing what transpires. You don't have to talk to Jay about Jay-Z like that. You don't. He hasn't done anything yet. You don't know what he's going to do. Why not wait and see? Yes. That's all I'm saying. Appreciate the call, Ray. Thank you so much. 888-SAY ESPN. We'll close out the show with your calls in more than a minute. It's Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News. By the way, when you're hiring, you don't want to waste time sorting through dozens of irrelevant resumes. You want an efficient way to get to a short list of qualified candidates. That's why you need Indeed.com. Post a job